Everybody's trying to balance work and home and all of that. And I realized you can't do that. It's not a balance. It's a rhythm. It's a harmony. So when you blend the two and you just let them work together, it works amazing.
Welcome back to Good Better Broker as we bring in Alysha Boles. She is a mortgage advisor with Edge Home Finance, and she is based in Colleyville, Texas. Alysha, great to have you here.
I should have told you I moved. I'm now in Argyle, Texas.
See, I thought I had my notes all right, and now it's Argyle. Okay, but still the Dallas Metroplex.
Yes.
All right.
North
Well,
Texas.
Congratulations on being in Argyle in the new house, as you just told me before we started recording.
Yeah.
A bit more about you, I should say. You've been in the mortgage business since 2016, but your experience in real estate goes back years, including a lot of time as an investor with your husband. You've been with Edge now for 2 years. You are formerly a retail LO, and now you're building out a small but mighty team, which currently has 5 people. Alysha, you have built your business around your life as a mom.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me how that's gone.
Actually, it's gone beautifully. I got into this business to be mom first, but yet not let anything else go. And in the beginning, it was really hard because you're trying to balance, right? Everybody's trying to balance work and home and all of that. And I realized you can't do that. It's not a balance. It's a rhythm. It's a harmony. So when you blend the two and you just let them work together, it works amazing. And so that's kind of what I finally figured out. And I focus on being present in everything, present as being a mom, present being a wife, present being a mortgage broker, and showing up in rhythm every day.
How did you finally figure that out, as you just said? Because I feel like there are so many people in this business who struggle with that, right? They struggle to find the balance between professional and personal life. For you, was there a moment of clarity? Tell me what you remember about how you kind of got to the point where you said, okay, this is who I want to be and this is the direction I want to go.
Yeah. So I always knew that I wanted to be able to show up for everything. And at first it was really hard because I felt like I needed to fit the mold of a top producer. And whether that was, a team doing certain things for me or a certain number of hours in the office or lead generating or whatever that looked like, I was trying to force myself into that mold. And I would get so frustrated because my hours and my days didn't look like that. I got up in the morning, I snuggle every day with my 11-year-old, and I take her to school. And then my day begins after I do that, not at 5 a.m. in the morning or 4 a.m. in the morning. And so when I started accepting that as being okay and that it fit my way versus a stereotypical way, it made a huge difference.
So your way is obviously all about you. You're your own person. And, this next question I want to ask you, I think extends beyond mortgages, beyond real estate. It's more a societal question because when you and I were talking before this interview and I asked you kind of how things are going and, where you're at with your business and with your life, you said that you have gotten to the point where you no longer compare yourself to others. And I feel like that is so hard to do as we sit here in late 2025, for everybody with, social media and everything else that's out there. It's just so difficult to not do that. So how have you done it?
Yeah. You know what? I had a conversation with my 17-year-old a few weeks ago, and that was exactly what she and I talked about. The fact that I think not only for teenagers, but even for us, the biggest struggle we all have is comparison, comparing ourselves to, where we want to be and what that looks like. But our situation is different. We're very much a fingerprint. And when I started realizing that if I looked at other people that I love, that I celebrate their success, but it made me feel bad. And I started recognizing that that's not healthy for me. It wasn't healthy to see a certain situation, compare myself to it, and feel like I wasn't doing enough or I wasn't doing it the right way because I wasn't doing it that way. When in reality, I was doing every bit of that same amount of production or loans or hours or whatever it was. And I actually started snoozing some really good friends that I love on Facebook for 30 days at a time because I needed to not compare myself to what they were doing, whether it was on social media or their production or whatever it was. I needed to put the blinder on. And putting the blinders on really helped me to block out all of that noise and comparison.
Part of this is that you've kind of honed in on your strengths. And you were telling me that, those strengths have really impacted not just your business, but the way that you have assembled this team that you have. Tell me about that.
Yes. So it's really easy to feel like you have to do something in a standard operating procedure way, right? We look at how people do things and we think, oh, I have to do it that way to be successful. And the moment you start doing that, you've kind of already failed yourself and your own authenticity. For me, most of my best ideas have been shot down by other people. And then I've turned around and realized they were brilliant and they were exactly what I should have done. And I should have just stayed authentic to me. So one of my biggest strengths is staying true to myself and realizing that I actually don't do the loan experience and the pre-approval the way everybody else does. And I think that to some degree it's broken in our industry and it really needs a redesign. But for me, instead of listening to respond and get people to do what I want them to do, I'm listening to understand what it is they need from me. And that's actually the same exact thing that I do as a mom. I need to know what my family needs from me. So I need to know what my borrowers need from me, what my agents need from me. And then I can show up for them to do that. And I found that to be my biggest strength. And speaking of my team, that's exactly what I've done with my team. Instead of hiring people to fit a mold or a design or a job description that I created, I find people that have gifts and talents that suit something that I need, and I let them do that. I let them work in their area of expertise, and they love it. They don't get burnt out, they thrive, and then they ask for more. And that has turned out to be amazing.
How have you, excuse me, how have you found those people? Because there's a story here, and I want you to tell it because, you put something out there into the world, not really knowing what kind of response you would get, and you got quite the response.
Yes, let me just say that LinkedIn has nothing on Facebook Mom Group. I'm going to tell you, there is so much talent in the car line. It's a gold mine. So I had this idea. I was sitting one day and I was listening to something and I don't even remember what the topic was, but I remember the idea of, you know what, I'm going to go into this moms group that I love on social media and I'm going to just post that I'm looking for help. And I just wanted to know everybody's skills that they had and I'd see where they fit. I got the most outrageous response. Within an hour, I probably had 50 moms at home that had master's degrees, marketing degrees, were teachers, finance degrees from Texas A&M, you name it. They had skills and talents. And what were they doing? They were now home being mom. But just because you take a season to be mom doesn't mean that your skills and gifts should go on the shelf or a bench and not be used.
It's an amazing story. And I think it's such a great point that there are people out there looking for opportunities. And these people have skills, and these skills are valued by people
Huge.
like yourself. It's just they don't know where to look until somebody actually asks them or puts it out there.
Yes. Well, and so many people see mom life, so to speak, as a limitation. It's actually not. It's an incredible superpower. We multitask, we empower, we show up for people, but no, you can't stick us in an office 8 hours a day or 40 hours a week. You can't ask us to be away from certain things, but if you give them, and most of these ladies work 2, 5, maybe 10 hours in a week, and that's all they want. They feel capable. They're doing what they're good at. I don't end up with a ton of leveraged overhead that I can't get rid of if the market shifts, and everybody loves what they do. And it just takes just enough off my plate to let me do what I do best.
What has it been like to bring some of these women in and see them flourish, see them embrace this role, whatever it may be, however small it may be, or however big it may be, and see them find real meaning in what it is they're doing? What's that been like for you?
I actually kind of feel selfish because I feel so good about it. Like, I feel like I've done something for them that nobody else out there is letting them do. It's not demanding, it's not huge, but there's a spark in them that's different than if they're not doing anything and we're just being mom all day, which is amazing. But at the same time, we want to accomplish other things. And so what I have found in a lot of these ladies is some of them are fine with just the small things that we do. And others have just blossomed in a way that I can give them more and they want more. And, they're excited to do something that they didn't think they could do before. And I think that the mortgage industry itself is a real hidden gem for people in that season of life because it offers so much freedom and flexibility and, purpose while still being present.
We don't have any of your team members here in the studio with us, but as I'm sitting here listening to you talk about this, I would think that if I was able to ask them about this, they would say that one of the reasons why they like working with you and for you is because they can identify with you. How willing have you been to kind of share your own philosophy on business and life with these ladies?
I'm so transparent. They probably know more than they even want to know. But there's a big difference. I had a mentor and a coach one time, and we would talk about how to start the day. And he could never understand why starting the day feeding my kids breakfast was the first win of my day. If I could do that every single day, it made a huge difference. And so for these ladies on my team that see someone out here supporting her family, making an incredible income while being present in every car line and every pickup and every field trip and party and you name it, right? But still succeeding, it shows them something different. And I'm the person that understands why maybe their first win of the day is making sure they fed their kids breakfast.
It's the most important meal of the day. I mean, I was literally having this conversation with my kids either last night or maybe this morning because I feel like they're just not eating enough for breakfast. It's like, no, that mini muffin is not enough.
Yeah.
Let's pick it up a little bit here. So I get it. I get it completely. Tell me how you think this whole concept of identifying people's gifts has complemented your growth plan and what you're looking to do with your business.
I think sometimes it's about figuring out what you can take off of your plate, even if you may be good at it. But if somebody else is more excited about it and you can give them that gift of doing something that breeds passion in them, you avoid their burnout and you avoid your own as well. And we all know there is so much that we wear or do in this industry, from marketing to finance to relationships to, you name it. There's a spot for everything. You could literally take every single role of a job and find a place for it in what we do.
And you said, for you, we were walking over here and you said you kind of at this point in your career, you know what you like to do. And you also, maybe more importantly, know what you don't like to do.
Yeah.
How has that helped you kind of with the vision for growth and where you're taking the business?
Well, it goes back, I think, to realizing that my situation is my own, right? I have a very small window in the day where nobody is home, from drop off to pickup, right? And I made a commitment to my kids a long time ago. I will not be on the phone when I pick you up from school. But that doesn't mean that I don't get there an hour early and sit in the parking lot or the car line, returning emails, making phone calls. I have some of the best conversations sitting outside of my kids' school waiting to pick them up, and then I turn it off or turn it on. So breaking out of that and realizing I get to create this on my terms, especially being at Edge in the broker channel, doing what we do, I get to create life on my terms, but it doesn't hold me back in any way.
I want to ask you a little bit about dealing with your borrowers and simply helping people. And one of the things that you said to me about your business, and this was, I think, when we spoke about a year ago, is that you want heart money. What does that expression mean, Alysha?
Yes. So I think a lot of people can relate to all of the things that we hear from people all the time. We're getting into an incredibly personal space of finance, and we hear a lot of stories, and our heart goes out to those stories, and we just wish we could help. And there's a certain point where when you've met your own needs and you're not at a point of greed, right? You don't go from need to greed, but you go from need to heart, that abundance that comes from producing more than you need gets to be heart money. It's the money that you can use to change somebody else's life, that story that pulls at your heartstrings, and you could literally just go dip into a bank account and solve it because you have heart money.
So personal, for you, obviously. And another thing that you really enjoy doing is helping people get out of stressful situations. And we know that one of the hats a mortgage advisor wears is, financial analyst. And you really are able to dive into a person's entire financial picture and figure out different ways to help them out. What's it like for you when you're able to help somebody out of a situation where they are just burdened by whatever it may be relating to their finances?
You know, I hate to start something so deep with a laugh, but people laugh when I tell them that I love to play with numbers because they tell stories. And they really do. When someone sits down and they tell you your struggles and your burdens, I'm hearing that, but I'm also hearing what the numbers can do to change that story, to take them out of a place that they didn't even realize they could get out of. And we talk about it. I mean, people, they cry, they celebrate. I had a client, one of my favorite stories, they call me and they said, okay, Alysha, I need you to understand the next bank statement you get from me, you're going to see a huge withdrawal because I bought a ring and I'm getting ready to propose. But I got an inheritance, so she won't notice, but I needed you, right? So when I hear these stories and I think about what role I'm playing in those lives, whether it is helping them to pay off debt, helping them to free up monthly expenses. I had a client who just closed on a home a year ago in December, right before Christmas. I worked with her for 5 years on her finances. I've had clients come in and sit with me every month with their bank statement while we planned their debts and their expenses for the next month, because it's so much bigger than just getting them a loan.
You're right. It's more than about a transaction. Obviously, it's more than a relationship between you and a borrower. It's really having a huge impact on their life. And whether it's a borrower or the people on your team or even your own family, I mean, you are making a huge impact. That said, I do have to ask you, because your kids, we were just talking, they're starting to get to be teenagers. You already have 2 teenagers.
Thankfully, they drive.
Yes, huge. But as as you think about the way that you have done this, and been able to successfully thread that needle, like we were talking about earlier, between being a professional and still having the exact kind of life you want as a mom, what is your message to others on how they can approach this business and do things like you have? Maybe not exactly the same way, but try to find that same balance that seems to make you so happy.
I think my very first piece of advice is don't think you have to do it like anyone else. You get to completely create it your way, whatever the hours look like. Part-time and full-time does not determine a professional. An office versus remote does not determine a professional, a team versus not, nor does the amount that you produce. It truly is where you place yourself that's authentically serving the way that you want to and serving the people the way that you know you're supposed to, not comparing.
So hard to do. Easy to say, but very difficult to do. And you've done it. So I don't know. I feel like coaching may be in your future too. You were talking about the impact a coach had on you, but I feel like just listening to this, you may get some people reaching out to you. And I think that you'd be an amazing person to help them through whatever it is they are dealing with. So we appreciate you sharing. Great sitting down with you, and continued success to you and your team. Alysha Boles with Edge Home Finance. Thanks for being here.
You are welcome, Justin. Thank you.
Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel to be notified about new videos, as well as your preferred podcast platform for a new episode every other Tuesday.